Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome. My name is Trevor Armel, the marketing lead at Forest Stewardship Council. I will be moderating today's session. Thank you for joining. Before I jump in and introduce the panel for today's discussion, a couple of housekeeping points. One, we are on LinkedIn Live. Please use the comment features for any questions that you may have throughout. We'll be trying to answer as many as we can as we progress. We'll also be asking and taking questions from the audience in between each presentation today and to answer questions at the end if we have time. The webinar is also recorded and will be shared after the event with registered participants. If you haven't registered, you can do this on the LinkedIn page. So I think that's all in terms of housekeeping. So today's session is part of Out of the Woods, which is an FSC webinar series designed to spotlight and highlight the various value chains connected to forests and the role that sustainable forestry plays in protecting them. Today, the topic is about unlocking sustainable natural rubber. Once thought impossible to trace and therefore certify, this year, 2021, has in many ways changed the trajectory of sustainable natural rubber. There's much evidence that sustainable transformation is indeed possible, and we're, with that, very excited to talk to you today about the horizon of sustainable natural rubber. And with that, I'm excited to introduce the panelists who, in their own way, are change makers behind that transformation, representing the tire manufacturing, the footwear, and the upholstery industries. So let's introduce our panel, and we'll start with Ulrich Antony, who is the head of natural rubber procurement at Pirelli, joining us from Singapore. Hello, Uli.
Hi, everybody. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And now on to Tina, who is the global sustainability lead at Hunter Boots, joining us from London. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Trevor. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Thank you. And next up, we have Dieter, who's joining the Business Development Director from Latexco, joining from Belgium. Hello, Dieter. And now moving on to Sean Nyquist, who's the Natural Rubber Value Chain Development Manager from FSC, joining us from Cologne. Hello, Sean.
Hey, Trevor. Hey, everybody. Glad to be here.
Great. Okay. So as you can see from the panel, the rubber value chain is truly global. And as a final introduction, all of you in the audience who are joining us here today, I can see in the chat many people joining from Vietnam, Thailand, UK, Germany, Accra. So yeah, good participation and wonderful to see you all. Now let's get started. So to kick things off, Sean is going to ground us in the natural rubber value chain, share a bit of an overview and a data-driven update from an FSC perspective on the state of certification. So with that, Sean, please take us away.
Great. Thanks, Trevor. I think as a starting point, it's useful to kind of set the stage with some imagery from photos and videos that we've been making in Thailand as a result of new certification there. We've been doing interviews and film production of smallholders that are certified there, and looking forward to sharing that soon. But just to start, I think it's important to align everyone, people that might not be as familiar with the rubber value chain and what makes it unique. So here are the 5 stages represented here. In terms of, to give context, there's 6 million farmers globally producing natural rubber, and predominantly rubber is coming from smallholders, with 85% coming from smallholders who usually have less than 5 hectares. And then because of the sheer number of smallholders, it is then traded to get to processing factories. In order to get to the critical mass, it usually takes several stages of trading before it reaches the factory. And this can present major challenges when it comes to certification with knowing where the rubber is coming from. The third stage is when it reaches the processing plant. And this is kind of where the destiny of the end product is determined, because there are different grades of rubber being produced for different applications. Tire rubber is different from concentrated latex that goes into balloons and gloves, which is different from footwear. And obviously the end market is dominated by tires and mobility, but rubber is used in everything. We need to remember that certification of a product does not just mean that it's certified at the forest level. It also has to be guided through an unbroken chain of custody, which brings in its own certification standard, so that we know that rubber's coming from an FSC certified plantation. Okay, I mentioned that the challenge that it can be difficult to know where rubber is coming from due to the number of smallholders and the distance that rubber can travel. But I would like to quickly highlight the opportunities that we have been developing to address these challenges. Each of these deserves its own webinar, but essentially group FM certification and group chain of custody certification is working on the concept of economies of scale, that you don't have to go to certification alone, but can do it as a group, which reduces the auditing costs. SLIMF, this stands for small or low intensity managed forests. And this is a way in which smallholders especially can streamline their auditing and implementation requirements, cutting down the costs. And then this third level down, that this is something new. So it's just being approved now for pilot next year in 4 Asia Pacific countries: Indonesia, India, Vietnam, and Thailand. And the purpose of this, it's focused on smallholders, and it's meant to do 2 things: simplify the language so that it's something that a non-forestry expert can understand, and 2, reduce the requirements that are not relevant to smallholders in these areas. So there's 211 international generic indicators. For this standard, it's 145. And we're looking for participants to use this pilot. And the last opportunity to address key challenges, and something that is maybe a little bit more abstract, but is absolutely critical, is transparency and collaboration. You cannot certify your supply chain without doing this. So you need to find the right partners to get certified. It cannot just be done by your organization. Now I'd like to give an update at a holistic level. How has certification been developing at that first stage with certified forests? In the last 2 years, the growth has been extremely linear, but we can see that it's very steep. From 2019 till now, the certified forest area for rubber has doubled. This is showing both large plantations and also smallholders. And geographically speaking, all the certified forest is coming from these 6 countries on the right: Guatemala, India, Indonesia, Mexico, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. And now on this next slide, I want to kind of hone in on how we're seeing that smallholder group certification is really multiplying right now. This growth is really coming from 2 different forms. On the left-hand side is a plot showing the number of smallholder groups that are getting certified. And it's really a hockey stick growth trend, exponential, more than tripling in the last 12 months. And the second area where growth is coming from is that existing certified groups are adding new members. Here's an example from a group called Agak in southern Thailand, which got certified in January of this year. And in just the last 12 months, they have gone from their initial size of 500 members and about 1,800 hectares of total certified area to 3 times that size by the start of Q1 of 2022. So they have been growing in the last 12 months, and they plan to be 3 times their starting size by January or February of 2022, and then continuing to grow by the following year. So my time is pretty short now, but the message I want to convey in this last slide is that commonly people think that the bottleneck with certification is coming from smallholder certification for rubber. But I think that that's really not the case. What it instead is whether or not there is willingness from brands and manufacturers to signal a demand to their suppliers for sustainable rubber. And through collaboration and transparency, whether they can really help their suppliers get to this level. I know that the speakers on this call right now have indeed done this, and I think that they'll be able to share that better than me.
Thank you for that, Sean. And with that, let's move right on to Pirelli, who has done much of the work that you're mentioning to here today. So Uli, if you can share your screen, please feel free to get started.
Yes, hi, Trevor. Thanks a lot for the introduction. I think you should see it now, correct?
Yep, all good.
Okay, perfect, fantastic, thanks a lot. So again, thanks a lot for having me with you, and it's really a pleasure to talk about this fantastic project. Again, my name is Antoni. I work for Pirelli, located in Singapore, and I'm in charge of natural rubber procurement and natural rubber sustainability. So I will guide you through this project. We have done the first engagement story to produce the first FSC certified tire in the world. So I think it has been an amazing experience, and we're quite proud of that. Okay, so a few words about the company. So Pirelli we are a tire maker. We are producing what we call consumer tires, and consumer tires means car tires, motorcycle tires, and bicycle tires. Turnover is around 5 billion euro, and most of that is coming from what we call the high value segment. The company is quite some time around, so we will celebrate on our 150-year anniversary in a few weeks. So January 2022, we will complete 150 years. In terms of sales, of course, we are selling worldwide. Main market is still Europe, while of course then Asia Pacific and North America in the last few years gained a quite important share in our portfolio. We are producing tires in 18 factories in 12 different countries around the world, and so able to serve wherever. In terms of sustainability, I think we are part of most of the important sustainability ratings and initiatives. So we are part of the Dow Jones Sustainability Index. We are part of the CDP Climate, Global Impact Lead, and again, a gold medalist in the S&P Global Sustainability Award. So, I mean, again, I think Jean helped a lot on try to understand what has FSC and the forest product to do with rubber. So let me show what a tire has to do with rubber. So I think it's important to get a bit of an understanding how a tire is done and what are the main ingredients. On the left side, you see a typical composition of a car tire, and you see there are two materials which are originated from the forest. You see there is something like 19-20% of natural rubber in a car tire, and you see as well that on the down, I don't know if there's a cursor, if you see that there is something like 4 or 5% of a textile, in our specific case rayon. So again, originated in a forest, and that's why it will be part of my presentation. Okay, so I think this one I can almost skip after the amazing introduction coming from Jean. Again, it's a complicated supply chain. I think we Jean tried to underline that and make that very clear for those who are not so familiar with the supply chain. I think, then when it comes to the product, normally we are using to produce our tires, which we call is called Kaplam. So it's the latex, which is then becoming solid. Then it's even a bigger challenge. So latex you would probably process within a relatively short time, I think within 1 or 2 days. And the supply chain might be relatively short, or at least shorter than you have it normally for the Kaplam. So the big challenge here, especially in the second box, because farms often are in very remote areas, and to bring that to the plantation, to the processing factory, you will require a lot of, sometimes several intermediaries who are handling the material And it's important, of course, when you get certified FSC, you have to keep track of what's going on. Okay. A very few words before then moving to FSC about what engagement of Pirelli in natural rubber sustainability. So we have been starting in 2014 with some of projects training farmers in good agriculture practice with our main partner in Indonesia. In 2017, 2018, we published our Pirelli Sustainable Natural Rubber Policy, our implementation manual and roadmap for 3 years. All that was done in cooperation, in a multi-stakeholder dialogue. So where we had car maker, processors, civil society, smallholders and traders involved in the discussion. We are as well a founding member of GPSR, so the Global Platform for Sustainable Natural Rubber, and I'm personally there co-chairing 2 working groups. One is the working group on capacity building, which I'm co-chairing with Chris Schwarz from Rainforest Alliance, and the other one is the smallholder representation working group, which I'm co-chairing together with Pacriprius, a smallholder from Indonesia, previously with Julian Oram from Mighty Earth. So let's jump now more in the FSC world. So I think the left box we maybe can a bit ignore. I think that's probably everybody of you is aware about that who's joining this webinar. So what we did, we announced our first FSC certified tire in May this year, and it's a cooperation together with BMW. What we did, we converted our factory in Rome, Georgia, USA, to only consume and process FSC certified rubber, and as well the textile, which we will see later on again. So the whole factory now has been converted. It's of course not the biggest factory, but anyhow, it's a normal tire factory in the Pirelli world, and we developed this product to equip an amazing BMW X5 xDrive E45 E plug-in hybrid. So this was a development for the car and done, let's say, always based on knowing that we would do that on an FSC tire. So a development over tires. Of course, the tire is rated A-class, rated in terms of rolling resistance. I think we have been, since we published and announced this achievement, the feedback from media and customers has been amazing. So we really felt it has been perceived as an important step forward, and I think it has been as well a good, fantastic way of strengthen to a very good relationship which we have with our partner BMW. I think has been perfect, excellent over years. But I think this helps even further to work along your supply chain on such kind of projects. So again, we have 2 materials which are certified. It is, you remember, it's around 20% rubber, 5% is textile. So the textile is the rayon coming from the forest as the natural rubber. And it's now you can find the logo of FSC on our tires. Inside, outside just the logo, inside a bit more details. It says, of course, FSC natural rubber mix, because we would not like to give the impression that every ingredient of that tire is FSC certified. We know it's only 20, it's only rayon and rubber, but out of that, all of that is fully certified. Okay, so I think in terms of I think all of us know, and John as well in introduction mentioned, there are 2 elements. One is the FSC COC, and the other one is the FSC forest management. FSC COC, I would say, can be handled. It's important to be able to segregate. Of course, we just converted the entire factory, so that's a bit easier. The segregation is a bit less complicated. Of course, you still have the issue from the farm to the processing factory. We are quite proud that we did really, this project is based on in cooperation with smallholder communities. So the farmers supplying the rubber to our factory in USA are really smallholders. The Southeast Asia is a smallholder context, and it's really all smallholders. We have cooperatives part of that, smallholder groups, and they are, of course, part of our supply chain. Important, I think don't expect that farmers will do that by themselves. I think they require, of course, technical and financial support. And I think, first of all, for the certification, but as a follow-up, I think it's not yet done. So you just get it from the certification. So I think it's important to continue to work with the farmers. In terms of long-term commitment, I think we have been working on this project with Thai Eastern Group since 2016. I think that at least the meeting minutes I found. So it has been a long way. Of course, up to, you need to identify which factory, which quantity, and which sizes. But of course, it has been an amazing journey. There are challenges, there's no doubt. Certifications happened in 2020 and 2021. So I think we all know it was COVID time, and we never wanted to expose any of our smallholders part of their project to any risk, health risk. Farmers have to take action in regards to buffer zones or the use of chemicals you cannot use anymore for weeding. And of course, you need to keep track. So it's important to support farmers in this process. So it's not only the certification, it's a follow-up, as you might lose farmers if you don't care about it. So I think that's the last slide. I think I'm over. I see Trevor is putting on the, so I think time is a bit over. So I put that as last slide. I think that's an amazing picture with a beautiful car, great tire in a beautiful city. So the car and the tire were presented during the Munich Motor Show earlier this year, I think May. And I think a fantastic project. Thanks a lot to our partner BMW and Thai Eastern, and of course as well Sikrem in this project going along together. Thanks a lot. I give the word back to you, Trevor.
And thanks, Uli. I hadn't actually seen this photo, so good to see some of this work at the Munich Motor Show. You talked a little bit about partnership and mentioned kind of the long-term journey that it's taken since 2015 with Thai Eastern Group. I wonder if you might just reflect a bit more broadly on kind of the importance in finding the right partners to achieve your sustainability goals kind of across and at all points of the value chain.
Yeah, I think it's important to have the same vision on these projects. It's not just that you go somewhere and say, okay, yeah, well, let's do like that. I think this comes up in conversation, in meetings you have, and you see if there is a right chemistry among the partners and the right priorities. So we understood that Thai Eastern, of course, is a partner, really keen in working on that. They do a lot of other activities in their factory. So you do that, and I think you will understand who has it really in a kind of in your DNA, and maybe who does it for other reasons. And I think we have here partners in this project who are really strongly committed to do that. I think without partnership, no way. You would even not be able to get the smallholders or the farmer groups involved. It's about partnership along the entire supply chain. So I think partnership, is really crucial in that project.
Great, thank you. And this was such an exciting announcement earlier this year, and I haven't yet seen this tire in the wild, in real life, but if anyone does, please send pictures across. This is great to see. Now, so that's a little bit, and Uli, you can stop sharing now, that is a little bit about the tire, some of the milestones that have happened in the tire manufacturing industry. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit and go into footwear. So I'm going to invite Tina to the stage from Hunter Boots. Thank you, Uli. Hi, Tina.
Hi there. Let me just figure out how to share. Sorry. Okay.
Yep, it's coming up. Perfect. Good to go.
Okay, excellent. All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Tina, and I manage the sustainability program here at Hunter Boots in London. Just really pleased to be here today, just to share a little bit about Hunter's journey with sourcing sustainable, certified sustainable natural rubber. Our rubber supply chain is a lot more direct and just a lot smaller than Pirelli's. And it's also very different from latex co's. So I hope that between the three companies, our three supply chains, we can provide you with some insights and ideas on how you can integrate FSC into your own rubber products. So just a really quick intro to our brand. So Hunter was established in 1856 in Edinburgh as the North British Rubber Company. So originally we made a wide range of rubber products, but obviously, most notably, the rubber Wellington boot, which most people recognize today. Our boots are made with the same original techniques, so handcrafted from 28 different pieces of rubber, molded onto what is known as a metal last or metal mold, and then vulcanized at a very high heat and high pressure. And our boots are made with natural rubber latex, which is tapped from rubber trees. Because Hunter is arguably, the world's most globally recognized rubber Wellington boot, we have 2 royal warrants. We know it's really, really important to lead by example. We do a great deal of due diligence throughout our supply chain, and given that rubber is our most valuable raw material, it's really important for us to get it right and make sure that it is responsibly sourced. So in August of this year, we launched something which we call Hunter Protect, and this is Hunter's sustainability strategy and initiatives. We outlined 3 key pillars, which are protect our forests, protect our resources, and protect our communities. And we also made 8 specific commitments for the year ahead, which I'll just very quickly scroll through here. Oops. Right, so today I'd like to focus on protect our forests, that pillar. Because natural rubber is at the heart of Hunter's brand, protecting our forests and the communities around them is critically important to our business. So this is why we've made the sector leading commitment to source 100% of our natural rubber from FSC certified sources by 2025. FSC is the gold standard for responsible forestry, whether we're talking about packaging, wood, paper, or rubber. So sourcing certified rubber gives Hunter the confidence that we're not contributing to deforestation, that our rubber meets the world's strictest ecological and environmental standards, and that the rights of local and indigenous communities are being protected. So as many of you know, sourcing certified sustainable rubber is a process. We've been working really, really hard to transform our supply chain and bring our suppliers along on this journey with us. So that's kind of what I'd like to share with you today. Come on. There we go. No, sorry.
It's okay.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. All right, let's see, is that working? Great, okay. So starting about 10 years ago, we began to trace our rubber supply chain back to the source. We were told by other footwear brands in the industry that this is really difficult. It's a really opaque supply chain, similar to leather. And we were also told that, we'd be likely to be able to figure out, pinpoint an agent in an office somewhere, but not the actual direct farms themselves. So we just got to work. I asked Hunter's third-party footwear suppliers to just give me names of their agents, and as it turned out, most of the factories actually had direct relationships with rubber processing plants. And as such, I was able to pinpoint the large plantations and smallholder communities that were selling their rubber to those plants. Only one footwear factory was actually buying their rubber through futures markets. So what I did there was I just asked the factory to send me photographs of the actual, company name that was on the pallets of rubber that were arriving to their warehouse. And it was just fairly consistently just 1 or 2 rubber suppliers in Vietnam. So step 1, tracing the supply chain completed. What we decided to do from that point was to establish a direct relationship with the plantations. So I introduced Hunter, Hunter's sustainability ambitions to them. I asked them to accept social compliance audits. And through those audits, we found some concerning but common issues relating to wages, working hours, and health and safety. We also identified some more serious issues which are common in the rubber industry, but not, in regular manufacturing itself necessarily. So for instance, the retention of passports of foreign migrant workers. So as this is a very serious issue, we worked directly with these rubber processing plants to remediate all of these issues immediately. So step 2, forming direct partnerships and relationships with rubber suppliers and assessing human rights and labor risks, check there. So after that, I knew I had to shift my focus over to sustainability and efficiency in agriculture and farming, environmental and ecological best practice, and responsible forestry. So here I was definitely out of my depth. So what I did here was I reached out to the giants. So I reached out to the tire industry, and Michelin in particular were very open about sharing their sustainable rubber sourcing standards, their challenges, and their learnings. They invited Hunter to tire industry conferences and meetings around sustainable natural rubber, including GPSNR, which Uli mentioned in his presentation. So I just spent those years just learning and absorbing, and during my regular visits to Hunter's rubber suppliers, I would just pass this knowledge and best practice on to them. So over those years, we really built up a fairly open and trusting relationship with the processing plants and select smallholder communities. And then in 2018, we got in touch with FSC because they had just recently begun to expand their work into certifying natural rubber value chains. So it was at this stage, there was still a very low supply and low demand of FSC rubber, and we found the price to be just too prohibitive for our work. Just too low a supply for us to make any sort of meaningful commitment to sourcing certified sustainable natural rubber. So this was when we decided to just build upon the great work that we'd done with our own rubber suppliers over the past few years, and we encouraged them to become certified to the FSC standard, thereby securing our own supply. We shared our intention to eventually source all of our rubber from FSC certified sources. We asked our rubber suppliers to join us on this journey. The first plantation that we worked with will have their FSC certification this month. We've also worked with our footwear factories to become chain of custody certified. So just over the past 2 years, we've just been working in really close partnership with our suppliers to improve standards and achieve best practice in responsible forestry. We also recently published our forest materials policy, which is available on our website for anyone to access. We developed a manual on responsible forestry for land managers, and just yesterday, Rainforest Alliance conducted some training to Hunter's sourcing team, designers, and product development team on the responsible sourcing of forest materials. And we're planning to conduct similar training to our rubber, packaging, and wood suppliers next month. Internally, prior to making this commitment to source 100% of our rubber from FSC certified sources by 2025, we had a couple of challenges to overcome. So first, the price of FSC rubber is obviously higher than non-certified rubber. We've done a lot of price modeling internally over the past 2 years, and we have in that time figured out a strategy for absorbing this premium ourselves. Secondly, we struggled with the idea of, having some boots be certified and other boots not be certified. Obviously, we couldn't transform, all our products into FSC certified products overnight. But we decided that if we were transparent with our customers and kind of shared with them our strategy for sourcing FSC certified rubber and sustainability in general, this actually just wouldn't be such a big problem. And we haven't found it to be confusing or problematic at all. Thirdly, we struggled with the supply of FSC rubber in the specific grade that we buy to make rubber Wellington boots. So I've already mentioned that, but we encouraged and incentivized our rubber suppliers to become certified to the FSC standard. And we really support the FSC system. So we really welcome other footwear brands to do the same with your suppliers. And finally, we had some initial challenges with communicating our FSC products to our customers. We found that customers recognize the FSC logo on paper and packaging, as well as wood, but not necessarily on rubber. So we learned that, we ourselves need to more actively engage with and educate our consumers on both FSC and sustainability. So what we did was we renamed our FSC boot the Protect Our Forests boot. We created playful and striking imagery for our various channels of the boot sitting in nature, sitting in the forest, sitting alongside trees. And we also created a richer and deeper story around our boot's connection to forests by donating proceeds of our Autumn-Winter 21 boot to the World Land Trust, which is a charity that protects forests. So so as a business, we've seen many benefits of FSC certification. We've been able to transform our supply chain and take our suppliers on this journey of responsible sourcing of forest materials. We've had the opportunity to engage with purposeful NGOs such as FSC, World Land Trust, and Rainforest Alliance. We've been able to drum up excitement within our internal teams around this product, and we've also found creative ways to engage with our customers on FSC and sustainability comms in a meaningful way. Great.
Thank you so much, Tina. You've covered a lot of ground in 8 minutes, so appreciate that. What I find particularly and always inspiring when I hear this story is that Hunter was the first to make such a public declaration in the kind of footwear space regarding sourcing FSC certified rubber by 2025. So in a way, you've kind of had to be the first mover, which I imagine took a lot of bravery to do when no one else had necessarily done something like that. But now things have changed in a sense of there's much more progress, and as you mentioned, much more kind of broader engagement when it comes to collaboration. And I just wondered maybe if you could, what future opportunities might you see now that it's kind of, there's getting to be more momentum behind this, and any examples of kind of wider collaboration that you might be able to share with us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in general, Hunter's really happy to collaborate with other footwear brands and other companies that are sourcing rubber with regards to FSC rubber sourcing. We have this one plantation that we've been working with for over 13 years, which is becoming certified this month. We're happy to share their details. They've invested a lot of time and effort into becoming FSC certified, so we just want their business to really thrive. We're also happy to speak to anyone who has any further questions. After this presentation, I'm always happy to schedule a call and just talk about our journey to this point. And in terms of, I guess, like B2B partnerships, we're always pleased to collaborate with brands that share Hunter's sustainability values. We recently collaborated with Selfridges, so they're a leading department store in the UK, to create an exclusive FSC boot with them. So this is only on sale in their stores exclusively. And we also find that when we speak to other fashion brands that we are looking to collaborate with, or B2B partners, when we tell them about our FSC rubber and our sustainability story in general, they get very, very excited. So.
Fantastic, thanks for that. One question from the audience for you, Tina, is just if you could clarify kind of the rubber volume. Obviously, it sounds like it's kind of expanding, but maybe just a little bit of detail in terms of the total rubber volume kind of, at the moment.
Sure. So hopefully I'll get these numbers right. But basically, we are hoping to source 100% of our rubber by 2025. That is about between 2,000 and 2,600 tons of natural rubber. And in 2022, we're aiming to increase our rubber consumption from, I think it's something like 13 tons to 400 tons. So we're making a really big leap in this first year. Yeah.
Great. And thank you so much, Tina. It's been a very inspiring discussion presentation. So thank you for your time. So now that we've covered footwear, we're going to zoom out and then zoom back into another industry, which is upholstery. So we're going to invite Dieter from the Texco up to the stage to talk about mattresses. So Dieter, if you don't mind sharing your screen, we'll get started shortly.
I don't mind at all.
Good.
If you just would give me a second to find back my presentation. Hang on a second. I'll be with you in a minute. Where is that presentation? It's not.
It went missing.
I see it on my screen, but you guys don't see it on your screen.
I
it's
think
not the right one. Hang on, stop share. I do apologize, guys. Stop share. Are you seeing my presentation? Not at all.
just white at the moment.
It's just white. Share
Yeah.
screen.
Very
There it
abstract
is.
presentation.
There it is.
Yes, here we go. Yep. Okay, perfect. Over to you, Dieter.
Yes. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you all for having me. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about LaTexco and why do we very well go for FSC latex. Just a little bit on LaTexco. We are Europe's leading manufacturer of latex components. We also do some foams, and we also make pocket springs. Everything that we do, all the products that we do go into the bedding industry. Small company, family owned, just over 150 million euro turnover. But we do think that we have the strengths of an international organization. And everything that we do, and everything that we always have been doing, is producing high quality products with an as good as possible service, but everything should be made in an ecological, balanced and sustainable way. Global presence, headquarters are in Belgium and the center of Europe. Production unit in Belgium as well, the largest production unit, Spain, the States, and then we do have an operation in Indonesia. All the rest is just sales offices worldwide. We export globally. 2/3 of what we do stays in Europe. The rest goes overseas, but of course the largest market is the US, where we sell to our own company who is selling them to the American market. And that is on LaTexco, and I don't think you need anything more. But why does LaTexco engage itself heavily into sustainability? Simple. It's just part of our DNA since the very start. And I'll show you a little bit why that is. First of all, we work with a natural product. We work with natural latex. And in our product portfolio, mattresses or pillows that do not contain any natural latex are simple less good of comfort. The comfort of natural latex in bed is unequaled. So we need nature, so we need to protect it. We are producing over 10% of our own energy, and we do need quite a bit of energy. And we were the first ones in our industry to invest in a closed loop water purification unit. In this company here, where I'm now in the headquarters, we use per hour over 12,000 liters of water. 1.5% is fresh water. The rest is recycled in a closed loop. Yearly, we purify the equivalent of 75 Olympic swimming pools. But that's not all. Already back in 1998, we founded our own recycling unit, LaTexco Solutions, and all the waste that we produce, and we do produce a bit of waste, over 5 million kilograms, we recycle it ourselves and turn it into new products. Dairy cow, milk cows, they produce more milk when they rest on our mattresses, again, the milk cow mattresses. But products are also transformed into machinery equipment, into transport, some in bedding and furniture, sports, and the building industry. Insulation, both acoustic as thermal insulation, can be made with products that before 1998 were considered to be waste. hang on a second. We're part of ValueMat. ValueMat is a Belgian organization that has been created to start up recycling used mattresses. We get end of life consumer products, recycle that as well, and turn that into our Latexco Solutions company into the new products that you just saw. Now, global warming is a problem, and we all have a responsibility. The rubber production produces 1 billion tons of greenhouse gas every year. We're the second largest producer of greenhouse gas after apparel. So we need to produce consciously. Sustainability is top of mind by ourselves, but also by the consumers and the younger generations. You cannot have one day and look at the press, look at television, and people are not talking about sustainability. We see that everywhere. H&M, the apparel producer, where years ago people in fashion were talking about fashion and the new collections, we're now talking about innovate. Let's clean up, be conscious, let's change, let's close the loop. So quite important. And this guy is Larry Fink. He is the CEO of BlackRock. BlackRock is a multinational investment management corporation. And back in the 70s, Mr. Larry Fink, dollars are the most important thing in life. At that time, BlackRock was saying, companies must make profit. This is our goal. When in his letter back in 2020, what he wrote to his chief executives, sustainability is the most important thing. We will not any longer invest in companies that do not have a purpose, that do not take care about the planet. So you see the change back in the 70s. The only thing which counted was dollars or euros or pounds or whatever, money. Today, it's about responsibility. We are uniquely positioned in, at least in our business, in our bedding business, because we as Latexco are the global leader when it comes to producing bedding products, with natural latex. We support your dreams, but slowly, slowly, we have been thinking about changing our idea to become a company that protects your dreams. It's like Hunter, we was talking about protecting as well. And it's simply not a slogan. It's something that you need to do, otherwise you will not have a future. That is why we have decided to change over all the natural latex that we use in our company by the second quarter of next year must be FSC certified. All the mattress cores that we produce today in 100% natural latex, because we also have some other blends, 50-50, 20-80, whatever. When I say 20-80 or 50-50, I say 50 synthetic latex, 50 natural latex, 20 synthetic latex, 80 natural latex. We start with the products that are 100% natural latex. They are today 100% FSC certified. Q2 next year, even all our blended products must be FSC certified. Why? Because we don't see there's another option. You need to respect your natural sources. If you don't do it, you will not survive. My presentation is shorter than the 8 minutes. We're also a smaller company, so feel free to raise your questions.
Yes, thank you, Dieter. One question I had for you, so just talking a little bit about that commitment that you mentioned there at the end, it sounds like you've made a big leap in step when it comes to FSC certified natural rubber. What signs encouraged you to take that step? And the second part of the question would be, what were the benefits of doing it all at once versus kind of a step-by-step approach? So kind of what gave you the confidence to just come out and kind of do it in such a strong way that you've just shared?
Well, as I said, first of all, it's part of our DNA, but we also have some bigger customers who are also taking the lead. And we definitely want to secure the capacity that we will need. So we will need by the end of 2022 some 10,000 tons of natural latex, all certified. That's one of the reasons. But what we also see is that we see a trend that our natural latex products are growing steeply. In all countries all over Europe, the demand for natural latex products in bed is growing. And the fact that your latex will come from plantations that do respect the environment will help you to boost even that steep climb and to grow even more. And we think it's important that the plantations where your rubber milk is coming from work in a respectful way towards the environment.
Great. So it sounds like it's lots of dynamics kind of contributing to this, from customer demand, consumer kind of want, into supply chain and partners kind of moving along this way too. So thank you. Thanks for that. I wanted to switch now, if you don't mind, to stop sharing, Dieter, to bring Hunter and Pirelli back into the conversation now too. So we've seen three very different, well, similar but quite different industries in terms of the supply chain and how they're structured. And I wanted to kind of ask, it's sort of a time machine question in full disclosure, but what I've heard from all of the panelists is that this has been a long journey, and part of it is because it's the first time that it's been done to a large extent in each of these industries respectively. But things are now changing, and I just wondered, through that journey, there's been lots of learnings, I would imagine, and some of the people joining from the audience may be at a different part of this journey. So the question for all of you really is just kind of what advice you would give your former self. So if you were 5 years ago or even longer, knowing what you know now, what might you have kind of told yourself back in the future if you were to have to do this all over again? And maybe let's start with you, Uli, from Pirelli.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Trevor, for the question. I mean, it has been, of course, a long journey. I think it's, of course, you need to have a certain patience. You talk with farmers which might be not used to being certified and a lot of different ways of handling. So it must be really make a change. It's important by following the FSC. It's really a change, and you have to share this along the way. And so you have to be a bit patient. This is what I'm always you need. I mean, it's important to be then transparent, to bring it along the supply chain, to share this vision with your people, so that everybody really believes in it. If it's just to get something done for a marketing perspective, I think that really doesn't help you. It has to be something, as I think Dieter as well mentioned, it's something in the DNA. You need to have right partners. But of course, again, it's about of now spreading that out, to bring more people on board and welcome more in all of our supply chains, to have more participants in going on this way. So I think it's important that I think all of us are open to cooperate with more partners in this journey. And that's important. So we can, that's the only way we can make the change. It has been the first time for us producing, or in the industry, the FSC certified tire. I hope that will come more to come, of course.
Great, thanks for that. And Tino, same question to you. What would you tell your former self as you embarked on this journey?
Yeah, I think similar to Uli, just don't be paralyzed by trying to do everything at once and perfectly. Sourcing, certified sustainable natural rubber, and indeed, sourcing sustainably, period. It's a process and it's a journey. And it's just a step-by-step process. I think definitely it's also a very collaborative process. So, as brands, we need to learn to work together with our rubber suppliers and smallholders to understand what their needs are and to kind of find solutions that work for everybody. We can't just be demanding changes or improvements from our end and just hope that it magically appears and happens. And I think probably last thing, which I definitely did do, was just ask for help. Other companies out there very happy and willing to help share what they've learned just to make the process a lot easier for you. So definitely reach out to people.
And I think you said, Tina, at one point you had some questions for Uli, I think at a previous venture. So
yeah,
definitely
Uli
kind of
and
a
I
nice
are,
community.
yeah,
there.
we're buddies back from 2019. I think we were in southern Thailand together. So yeah, shared a lot of interesting conversations there.
The rubber folk have to stick together, I think it sounds like. So good to hear that. Dieter, what advice would you give yourself too, just in the future as you started this journey?
Yeah, well, for me, it's quite simple. It's a quadruple win. It's a win for the plantations because they will preserve what they are doing. They will work in a more healthy way. That's number one. It's a win for the Texco because we have something to offer to our customers. It's a win for our customers. And when I say customers, in this perspective, I speak about my B2B customers. I speak about the mattress manufacturers as well as about the retailers. But and that's the most important thing, is the win for us all as consumers. Because going for this journey is that we make sure that the plantations work in a better way. We avoid that they would go the other way. You hear negative things about palm oil plantations. We don't want to have that with rubber plantations. And I'm pretty sure that palm oil will also take this step in a bigger way. You simply cannot ignore it. It's the way we have to go, and we have to go with all this planet in the same way.
Thank you. And just to bring Sean from FSC into the discussion, I think FSC is about protecting the world's forests when it comes to it at the end of the day, and maybe more general than yourself, but maybe some advice, let's say, to anyone in the audience, and anyone who watches the recording who may be trying to get started on this journey. Sean, how would you kind of advise them to get started?
I think there's many ways to go about this, but it really starts with yourself and learning about the challenges and issues with that come from rubber. I think having the motivation is the key thing, and you can do research on this pretty easily, looking at research from other environmental NGOs. But then you need to focus on the customer that wants to see sustainable improvements. And then it doesn't matter how small you are. You can, as a brand, make a change by working with other brands, and also by working with your entire supply chain. Just in the last year, I've seen a lot of collaboration in the footwear sector. So would really congratulate that. Maybe real quick, I also saw a question in the chat from David Shaw about the price difference between FSC and non-FSC. I didn't want to answer this just with a single line of text, but it depends. But essentially, there's a couple different mechanisms for having higher wages for the smallholders that are selling rubber. There's guaranteed living wage. There's more bargaining power as a result of having sustainable rubber. The collective bargaining that you get naturally from group certification, You have increased transparency in the supply chain. So it's not just being necessarily purchased by a middleman and then traded several stages until it finally reaches a factory. And then they're following best forestry practices, so you're generally getting better yields over a longer duration. So the value that you bring to the plantation is increased through a variety of different ways. And then kind of going full circle with the environmental aspect, by using less chemicals, you can increase the soil health and biodiversity, making it easier to have agroforestry and harvest different products and stuff. So it's a tough one to answer. We don't necessarily track this, but we're hoping to have more transparency on this with these videos I talked about.
Great, thanks. And Sean, I think now we're at time, so we're coming to a close here on this webinar. And Sean, I don't know if you can see my screen, but there's kind of a final slide from you, which just highlights what is the step and how does one kind of achieve some of the certification end to end across the value chain that we've been hearing from these various industries throughout this presentation.
Great. Really, there's no formula necessarily, but everyone really asks this, but I think you need to start with enabling your supply chain to provide FSC. You need to put it in your procurement policy and bargain with your suppliers, work with them to get it. It's not a flip of the switch, but then you need to actually try it. So first put it in policy, but then do as these three speakers have. You have to put it into one of your products and then learn how FSC works. That's the only way to go. I think this is the most important thing. The third thing is something that is going to be happening throughout. It's not necessarily the third thing, but it's an ongoing journey where you're constantly collaborating with your supply chain to address roadblocks. This is probably where you can engage with us and collaborate with other companies to figure out how you can address these roadblocks. And then this last one is something that so far has not been done in the rubber sector, but is done a lot in the paper sector and other industries. Controlled wood, as it's normally known, I would call it controlled rubber, is a way to at least eliminate the unacceptable practices in rubber harvesting. And this can be mixed in certain chain of custody situations. And then the last point is that you make a commitment. This is really the way to show to your supply chain, to your customers, that this isn't just a marketing ploy. It's something that you're working towards, and only when you make a commitment will you reach that. We're no longer at the point where you can just say that there's not enough certified supply.
And on that note, I wanted to thank all of our panelists, Uli, Tina, and Dieter, for their time, and to thank all of the participants in the audience from Vietnam, Thailand, Germany, UK, all around the world for tuning in to this. I hope it proved to be not just inspiring, but also helpful and practically motivating in terms of giving you the confidence that this is possible. And as we look forward into next year and beyond, there's much more that can be done, especially through transparency and collaboration, as Sean mentioned. So many thanks to all of you. And yes, if you have any questions, we'll continue to answer and address them in the chat. But thank you all so much for your time. Bye-bye.